Welcome, everyone. Sometimes a whole world of history, of chance, of ambition can be locked inside something incredibly small. Today, we're going to unlock one of those worlds, using just 4 lines of ancient poetry as our key. We're going to see how one poem can tell us everything about a legendary battle and about the timeless sting of a life that didn't go according to plan. And it all starts right here, with this single line. It's a mystery. I want you to imagine you're walking along a riverbank and you find something sticking out of the sand, an artifact, a clue. This line is that object for us, our way into the story. You see, that object, that line of text, is the very beginning of a famous poem from China's Tang Dynasty. It's called Red Cliff, and it was written by a poet named Du, way back around the year 840. He imagines finding this artifact, and the moment he touches it, his mind just rockets back through the centuries. So before we break it all down, let's just experience the poem. We're going to go through it line by line. First, you'll hear the original Chinese, so you can really get a feel for its music and its rhythm. And right after, you'll hear the poetic English translation, so we can all connect with its meaning. Ready? 折戟沉沙铁未销. A broken halberd, buried in the sand, its metal not yet rusted away.
锦将磨洗任前朝.
I wash and polish it myself and recognize a relic of a former dynasty.
东风不与周郎便,
had east wind not granted Zhou its favor.
东阙春深说二乔.
The bronze sparrow tourists in deep spring would have locked up the 2 Qiaos. So you can really feel how this poem splits right down the middle, can't you? That first half, it completely grounds us in this one physical moment. It's like the poet is literally holding a piece of history in his hands. Let's dig into that a little more. Yeah, there's such an intimacy to this image, isn't there? The poet, he doesn't just see this broken halberd, this zhou. No, he picks it up. He washes the sand off of it. He polishes it. It's this incredibly personal physical connection across this huge expanse of time, a direct link to a legendary past. And what is that former dynasty he recognizes? Well, he's talking about one of the most famous events in all of Chinese history, the Battle of Red Cliff. I mean, this was a legendary David versus Goliath kind of showdown that basically decided the fate of China for generations. And the scale of time here is just staggering. We're talking more than 600 years between the poet and the battle. To put that in perspective, that's like one of us, today, digging up a genuine artifact from the early Crusades. That huge gap makes his discovery of this single weapon feel, well, almost miraculous. Okay, so the poet has set the scene perfectly. He's connected us and himself to this epic, historic battle. But then, in the second half of the poem, he takes this incredibly sharp turn. He pivots from what actually happened to a massive what-if. And this, right here, is the provocative heart of the poem. Du basically suggests that this entire nation-defining victory didn't just come down to brilliant strategy or incredible heroism. No, he says it all hinged on a single random event, a gust of wind. If the east wind hadn't shown up that day, the history books would look completely different. So let's meet the main characters in this little historical drama Du's painting. First, you've got Zhou, the brilliant young commander who pulled off the victory. Then you have the east wind itself, which is almost a character. It's the element of pure chance his entire plan relied on. And finally, the 2 Qiaos, these celebrated beauties who were married to the kingdom's leaders. They represent everything that was at stake. So the poem really sets up these 2 totally different realities side by side. On the one hand, you have actual history. The wind came, Zhou launched his famous fire attack, and he won this incredible victory. But then Du forces us to stare right at the alternative, a world where the wind fails, the attack is a bust, and the enemy completely crushes them. So why does he end with this image of the 2 Qiaos being captured? It's a classic, brilliant poetic technique, seeing the large in the small. Instead of giving us a boring description of armies falling and a state collapsing, Du gives us one single, vivid, personal image. The fate of these 2 women becomes this powerful symbol for the fate of their entire nation. If they are taken, it means everything has been lost. And that really brings us to the most important question of all. Why would a poet, writing about one of history's greatest victories, choose to focus on how it all could have been a total disaster? What is Du really trying to say here? Well, to figure that out, we have to understand the man himself.
See, Dumo wasn't just some poet living in an ivory tower. This guy was a sharp political thinker, a genuine expert on military strategy. He actually wrote commentary on Sun Tzu's The Art of War. But he also felt like his own incredible talents were never fully recognized. He felt his career had stalled. Basically, he felt overlooked by the world.
And that brings us to this critical interpretation from scholars who came later. They believed that Dumu was, as one of them put it, using historical verse to vent the frustration and injustice in one's heart. Suddenly, this poem isn't just about the Battle of Red Cliff anymore. It's about his own life, his own frustrations. And here's the final piece of the puzzle. By saying that Zhou Yu's historic success really just came down to a random gust of wind, is Dumu maybe subtly taking the hero down a peg? Is he trying to say, yeah, that great commander was brilliant, but he was also just lucky? His talent wasn't enough on its own. Maybe that's a reflection of his own bitterness, that in his life, his talent wasn't enough and the winds of fortune just never blew his way.
And that's the timeless, haunting question the poem leaves us with. It forces us to look at success and failure and history itself in a completely new way. It makes us think about that fragile line between total victory and total defeat, and it makes us wonder, even now, 1,200 years later, how much of our own story is really about our skill and how much of it is just the wind.